Speaking of Timmins is proud to present our 2014 Candidates for Council interview series. Welcome everyone. Here we are with another one of our candidates in the upcoming municipal election. We are pleased to be with Andre Grzela today.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, your background, and what led you to run for council in 2014?
Well, I am born and raised in Kapuskasing. Up to the age of 18, I decided to pursue my post-secondary education at Northern College and in business administration, accounting, marketing. Once I was completed with my courses, I decided to travel for a year and a half in Australia. So Fiji, Australia, New Zealand, you name it. It was great, and came back to the country after a year and a half. My brother's wedding. I met my wife at my brother's wedding, and decided to stay in town because I was supposed to go back to Australia, but met my wife, never went back. I am now working for MPP Gilles Bisson as his assistant. Learning a lot as far as politics goes, and I decided what persuaded me to run for council was that I have a young family. I have a 2.5-year-old and a 2-month-old, two little girls, and a lot of constituents on the side of provincially on that side. They were pushing me. They were actually questioning me, saying why, like, give me an answer as to why you don't want to run for council. And I couldn't answer them. So I soon after thought, spoke to my wife about it, and looking ahead in time, I think that I have some good ideas for the city, and to have my kids not have a hard time finding jobs in Timmins later on. And with a few hours of conversation with my wife, we decided to go ahead with it. So basically, it came down to having the family support and the oomph of having the best chance, having my kids to have the best chance in getting jobs later on in life, and having to live and prosper in Timmins as well as I am doing so as today.
What do you believe should be the top 2 or 3 priorities for the new council?
Well, I think right now, what's in motion with, and I've only had tidbits of information on this, but based on what I've received in regards to the water sewer plant, the sewer plant that's being built on Airport Road, I think that there's a 1/3 split with municipal, provincial, and federal governments, and to be sure that those funds are truly secured. Now, to look into the agreement. The initial contract was for approximately $60 million, and we're over that. So if there's ways to relieve the taxpayer dollar and stretch the taxpayer dollar to communicate with the province and the nation of the federal government, and find ways to have the extras, because since we're over the budget now, the agreement was on the $60 million budget. I think that we should concentrate on right away. There's a project right now that we could potentially save taxpayer dollars by communicating with the province and the federal government to see if they could relieve of that extra money that will be costing each taxpayer here in Timmins. So I think that's one big thing that we could already do in the near future, since the project is more than underway. And secondly, it's kind of, I want to say, for continuing forward, maybe, for downtown parking, I think it's a hot topic. Every once in a while, someone asks me, what do you think? And some are strongly for, some are strongly against. But I think that it would, if we look at different ways of managing our parking downtown, I'm not saying take away the parking meters. I don't know. I'm not sitting on council yet. I don't know what parking meters bring in a year. So I think there's always a different way to doing things. And so looking at different ways of managing parking downtown, whether it be, looking at making some parts of town free, or making, as far as looking at, building relationships and maybe building a parking complex somewhere near downtown or in downtown, there are spaces. Items like that I would think would address, our downtown core. I think it's important to help businesses, promote downtown so they can make business and keep the downtown alive.
If elected, what priority would you like to see addressed in Ward 5 specifically?
Honestly, I think we're growing both in residence and in business over there. Whether it be box stores or not, there's some local businesses that are building out there and expanding. So I think there should be a review on our side of the river on Ward 1 as far as, I don't want to say tax distribution, but in ways we could not to hinder the downtown core. But I think we have to find the boundaries of what should belong on that side of the river and what should be pushed to go downtown. There's a lot of space in Ward 1, so that's why the bigger stores, items like Ready-Quip, they need a lot of space. You wouldn't see that downtown. So maybe the bigger machinery companies or the ones that do require more, I don't know if there could be an incentive on having them built in that area, and then having incentives with smaller companies on the other side of the river to be built or helped along the way in the downtown area. So that being said, I think it has to do with, in Ward 1, basically looking at those items. I'm having a hard time explaining it because I had a good chat with Mr. Logren not too long ago about my ward, and it's truly been growing for the last 34 years. By the reason I say that is because for the last 34 years, Ward 1 has only had one councillor, and if it's been growing since then, there may be another issue there as far as fair representation around the table.
Many candidates and taxpayers in this campaign have spoken about this being an election of change. What changes would you like to see on council and at City Hall?
All right. I think, honestly, it's good to have elections every 4 years and having the representatives, having to prove themselves throughout their 4 years to be elected. And we do represent the people of each individual wards, and when it comes down to it, pretty much everyone in Timmins. I think what's important is sometimes it wouldn't hurt to maybe ask the people their opinion and run actual surveys. Maybe have a schedule of surveys and yes, let's say I do get in and I do represent them. Maybe I'm not getting the right message. Maybe there should be some door knocking. Maybe there should be some advertising done to help the people actually get their word out and what they actually believe is important. There's only so much one person can do as a representative and only so many phone calls they can take. So I think moving forward, looking at ways to get the information out of the people on certain subjects, hear them out. I think that's an important tool. 4 years is a long time when it comes to getting things done as a municipality. So I think hearing the people more often than every 4 years is an important thing. So I think I'm going to be an active councillor if I get in, should I get in, and I will do my best to fulfill my position as councillor by hearing people out more often than every 4 years. So being very active, being very hands-on, I think is very important.
Several Ward 1 taxpayers submitted questions to Speaking of Timmins via social media, wanting to know what you and other candidates in the ward would try to do to address the fact that many people living on the outskirts of the city pay higher taxes but do not get the same level of service as those that live in the downtown core, who often pay lower taxes.
Right. So for example, and this is a great example, I have friends that live out in Hydro Bay, and they are paying a very high price for the services, and I understand. I mean, I live on Park. I get all the services. Yes, we all pay high taxes, but the story I've heard from out there is they are paying an astronomical price for close to no service, and I only find it unfair that they do have to pay that price and they don't get the services. So I'm 100% behind reviewing maybe a system which would maybe I don't want to call it, a two-tier system, but I want to call it maybe being more considerate of each resident. So if you fall under a certain, what you receive is what you pay for kind of system, I truly believe that if this could benefit, and encourage people to remain, if they want to live out in the outskirts, yes, they do pay, they get less services, but let them pay less. I'd be totally up for seeing a system like that come into play. That being said, I'm not sitting around the table right now, so if once I'm around the table, I truly would understand what this would mean and be better able to actually answer that question. But for now, I think, from what I've heard, it would be totally understandable to have a system where it would be more considerate to the people, the taxpayers of Timmins.
What has been your favorite travel destination?
I am going to say Fiji, because I've been there, and Fiji is definitely unbelievable waters. I found the underwater world there, snorkeling, and it was an astronomical experience, just seeing all those different kinds of fish. And the water was crystal clear. It was unbelievable.
What one or two items would people be surprised to see on your bucket list?
I am very daring. I've already done the skydiving, the bungee jumping, the abseiling, the rock climbing, you name it. I almost did it all. A bucket list. I haven't even thought of that yet. I would like to try figure skates, just to see how it is to skate with figure skates. I would like to try the street meets in Japan. And the third item would be have a cartoon character in a cartoon.
Well, that does it for this edition of the 2014 Speaking of Timmins Candidate Interview Series. My name is Frank Rock, and this is Speaking of Timmins.